I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission. Can we call roll?
Yes, Member Little,
Present.
Member Moore, Member Hume, Member Jones,
Present.
Member Desmond, Member Pratton, and Chair Kaplan.
Here, and 4 of us makes a quorum, yes?
Yes.
All right, if I can have Member Jones do the Pledge of Allegiance.
My pleasure. Please rise, all who can do so. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, I'll actually turn it over to you to make some opening statements.
Okay, I'll make the announcement. Madam Chair, this meeting of the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission is live and recorded with closed captioning. It is cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. It is also live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Saturday, February 7th at 2 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/MetroCable14. The Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and use of courteous language. The board does not condone use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to make a public comment and are limited to making 1 comment per agenda or off-agenda item. Please be mindful of the public comment procedures to avoid being interrupted or disconnected while making your comment. To make a comment in person, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to clerk staff. The chairperson will open public comments for each agenda or off-agenda item and direct the clerk to call the name of each speaker. When the clerk calls your name, please come to the podium and make your comment. If a speaker is unavailable to make a comment prior to the closing of public comments, the speaker waives their request to speak, and the clerk will file the speaker request form in the record. The clerk will manage the timer and allow each speaker 2 minutes to make a comment. You may send written comments by email to boardclerk@saccounty.gov. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. If you need an accommodation pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act or for medical or other reasons, please seek clerk staff for assistance or contact the clerk's office at 916-874-5451 or by email at boardclerk@saccounty.gov. Thank you in advance for your courtesy and understanding of the meeting procedures. This concludes your announcement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll now turn over as we hit our agenda. We have item 3 in our business items. It's to welcome new members as well as administer the oath of office. I do not see our new members here, so we can bypass that and now go on to appointment of LAFCO officers for 2026. I'll turn it over to our Executive Director to just remind us of the process.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners and members of the audience. You are selecting the chair for 2026 and the vice chair who will serve in that role by commission practice. It's been a rotation among the member categories. Your next in line, however you want to take that, Commissioner Little, is the public member will become the chair, and then a special district representative would be appointed vice chair. In this particular case, Commissioner Jones is the only one that's present. So,
Present.
sorry, but those would be your officers. Of course, the commission always has a discretion to change the rotation if it's so suited.
Well, with that said, I would like to nominate Commissioner Little as our chair and Commissioner Jones as our vice chair, if you guys would be so willing.
So willing.
And I have a second by Member Pratton. If we could call the roll.
You may do an electronic vote. Please vote. Your motion passes unanimously.
All right, now I get to do the fun stuff. I get to swear you in, if you don't mind, and then you get to take charge. How does that sound? All right, I like the stand part, if you won't mind standing and raising your hand, your right hand. I state your name.
I, Chris Little,
Do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Chair. You're in charge.
Congratulations, Jim.
I will switch seats with you.
Madam Chair, will we take a brief recess so they can change the computer?
Yep.
Thank you.
So noted.
Thank you. Got a little spark there. Okay, welcome back from that long recess. Thank you, former Chair Kaplan. Okay, we have, our next item.
Mr. Chair, may I call roll to reestablish a quorum?
Thank you.
Okay. Member Little,
Here?
Member Moore, Member Hume, Member Jones. Here. Member Desmond, Member Pratton. Here. And Member Kaplan. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is
Item number 3 is the public is encouraged to address the commission concerning any matter not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes. The commission is prohibited from discussing or taking any action on an item not appearing on the posted agenda. And the chair has the speaker slips.
I do. I have Desiree Fox. Yeah, it should be on.
You can lower it.
There you go.
Good evening, Chair Little and members of the LAFCO Commission. My name is Desiree Fox. I serve as a policy analyst for Sacramento LAFCO. I'm here to state emphatically that I do not believe that Sacramento LAFCO is properly serving the residents of Sacramento County, its special districts, and the cities within Sacramento County. I stand here and encourage you all to look at your agenda packets with a lot of discretion. Each agenda packet is paired with an astro sheet, which gives you updates on projects and the movement on said projects. You all have requested that we adopted an MSR project plan. However, have you questioned how that project plan is being implemented? Have you looked at the items within the astro sheet to see how much projects has staff been working on to make sure that they are staying that they are competent in their performance and their duties, and that they are providing the services needed to the cities, special districts, and residents within Sacramento County. I believe that we have ad hoc committees dedicated to separating us from Sacramento County. I believe that we have efforts that are administrative that might be getting in the way of us serving the residents, special districts, and cities with Sacramento County. I have done my best as staff to try to do roundtable conversations, to stay encouraged, and to provide a forum for me to be able to be the best analyst to Sacramento LAFCO that I can be. I have been mistreated as an employee of Sacramento County, of which I noted January 13th at the Board of Supervisors hearing. I've emailed you all directly with personal conflicts, some of which are being handled in the appropriate manner in the private channels. But today I'm standing before you to say that I believe that Sacramento LAFCO needs to improve upon its service to the residents, special districts, and cities within Sacramento County. Thank you for your time and have a good night.
Thank you. We have one other comment, Kim Stevens.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kim Stevenson. I'm calling, first of all, good evening to the new chair and to the board of LAFCO. I come to you as a concerned citizen. I watched the Board of Supervisor meeting. I am very disappointed in the way that you are managing things within LAFCO. As a citizen of Sacramento, I am requesting that we look at everything that regards an employee access, employee protective rights, to make sure that we are doing everything we possibly can to make sure people feel safe in their workspace. Violations of that by any means is unacceptable. I challenge our county. I challenge you to do what is right for all, those that work for you and with you, and those who are watching you in every aspect, to make sure that we're upholding the laws, that we're making people feel safe in their workspaces. When people don't feel safe, it causes mental issues, it causes emotional. It's not a good representation of the brand. We do not want people in fear of Sacramento County. We want them to embrace Sacramento County with love and respect. So I challenge you to do that. You have a good evening.
Thank you. The next item, please.
Okay, we do not have any of this. The next item is the consent calendar to approve items 4 through 11.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent
Thank you.
calendar.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay.
Please vote. Your motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
4-0.
Is there any public comment for consent?
We do not have any public comment.
Thank you.
All right, item 12, you ready? Is public hearing to consider and approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026-27. Jose Enriquez.
Are there any public comments?
No, we don't have any public comments from this item as of yet.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. The item before you is the budget for LAFCO for fiscal year 2026 and 27. LAFCO, generally speaking, approves a budget in the two-step format. You receive a draft and you approve a proposed budget that gets circulated to all of the funding agencies, and then approval of the final budget will then signal for LAFCO staff to circulate and once again with the approved budget so that our funding agencies know what's coming for next fiscal year. We start the process very early as a courtesy since most funding agencies don't start their budget cycle until March or April, and having at least knowing what they're quote unquote in for the LAFCO contribution portion, that helps. So the budget for next year is right now proposed at $1.2 million. Most of the increase is driven by number one, staff costs, and number two, by health insurance costs. Ironically, a driver from previous years is retirement. But that one doesn't seem to be a factor, as you can see from attachment A. While the regular retirement costs do go up, our obligation under the pension bond for unfunded liability actually has gone down significantly. So essentially, those two offset each other. But the what's really hurting, honestly, is the cost for health insurance. And it's high across the board. So that pretty much is the main driver. It's about $6,000. On the operating expense, there are ongoing costs that are associated in there, but there's also a non-recurring cost. For example, our lease for the LAFCO office expires at the end of at the end of August. So we're looking for a new space, and we're going to have to factor in number one, the moving expense, but number two, the furniture that is for your policy analyst Grabo is really outdated and needs to be replaced. And then if there's any crumbs left over, we'll also be replacing my desk as well. But those are essentially your main drivers. On the revenue side, you have a minimal amount for interest. Project revenues, they always fluctuate. I gave an example that the revenues for 24-25 is 113,000, which fell short of the 195 that we have factored in. We have, well, I'll get to that in a second. And then we also have prior year fund balance that basically makes up for that. But the main driver really is the agency contributions. They will be going up by 7%, which roughly matches what the percentage of increase for the budget. For the most part, I don't really foresee much changes in terms of activity and in terms of projects. What's going to be a factor is that we are currently active in one litigation, so there are those unknown expenses, and there's a potential for further litigation as well. But essentially, that is it in terms of a budget overview. I go into a little bit more detail in the staff report. One thing that I wanted to do that I haven't done in prior years, but I did it for this year, is that your other professional services, because LAFCO contracts with the County of Sacramento, salary costs, salary and benefits are actually in that category. So for your budget, I've always broken those pieces out, and I include it as employee cost on your attachment A. But as you know from previous years, in actuality, those costs get lumped back into other professional costs. What I did this year that's different from previous years is that I actually also gave you what the other professional costs are factored in. It's in the staff report, so you see it broken out, basically what all that means. There's the personnel cost. There's the tech and car allowance for me as your executive officer. And then there's also the other costs that are associated in there. And there's the moving expenses line item that I referenced, but we also have MSR contracts that we've already contracted in. We have the county overhead charges, as well as costs for clerk services from the clerk of the board, and then your audit contract for $16,000. So, and again, we also factor in a 10% contingency. So that is the end of my report. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. You know, I pulled up the attachment and I look where you've reduced in advertising and bus and conferences to kind of offset some of the increased costs. Can you just say, because I know you're working on several MSRs and there's always something judicial that comes up that might change it, but approximately how many MSRs are you doing at one time that are being looked at?
Oh, that's a great question. So right now, the city of Sacramento, we're in discussions about initiating their MSR. An ongoing MSR that you'll actually be hearing next month is Florin County Water District. We hope to also have Southgate MSR that will also be coming before you. That's been in the works for years. There's the cemeteries MSR. That process is starting at the moment. And we have, there's one more. What am I missing, Christy?
We have Metro Fire. The draft is going to be available at the end of this month to staff. Omno Chimney is in the works right now. That should be available next month. We're also working with Florin Resource Conservation, Elk Grove Water. Staff has already reviewed that, gave the district some comments, so we're coordinating with that, so that should be coming up soon.
Yeah, so it's about 7, 8 MSRs that are currently going.
And then how long just approximately does it take to do one? I know there's no hard and fast rule, but approximately how long?
You know, when it's outsourced, it's about 6 to 8 months. What's in-house, it takes longer because it's competing with other LAFCO staff priority. Like I said, Southgate MSR has been out there for years. That's an in-house MSR. Florin County Water District, I believe that took about 8 months, right? But there was it was about the the district basically took a while to give us some information. So, it's hit and miss, but about a year.
But that's like, as we look at our budget, that's kind of what you estimate, and then the flow that comes from that, even knowing that if something comes up, judicial, that we need to review, it puts something on the back burner that we have to then take another look at.
Correct.
I'm curious, commissioners, as we look at this and then we have, look at the one fiscal year, do we want to also start having conversations of what does current fiscal year and 1 year out potentially look like, so that we're not just doing year by year because of the unknown costs that are out there, and then what we're experiencing and seeing with IT, healthcare, and other stuff, just so we have an idea, not necessarily saying we need to balance the second year, but just doing it so we see current year and 1 year out so that we know where we're heading. I'm curious as to your thoughts of that. I just think it might be a good idea to consider it. That's it.
I would agree. And do you have anything further, Matt? No?
I would agree also.
Okay.
I know that's starting to see more of that.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
All right. We have public comments?
Yes, we do.
We do. We have the first speaker, Desiree Fox.
Good evening, Chair Little and member of the commission. I have comments about the proposed budget. Number one, I'd be curious to know the reasoning why the agency contributions are being increased when some of the cities have had no projects related, LAFCO-related projects. Number two, I'd be curious to see if there's been any conversation about expanding the opportunities for staff to be able to promote within the county. Right now, we have an executive officer, 2 associate planners. Wonder if there's been any discussion about maybe adding a different level that would allow staff to be able to have some career advancement and be able to transition into a different classification for career development. For the MSR and the budget, I'm wondering if there's how much money is going to our contracting and consulting with people outside of LAFCO as opposed to training staff on how to prepare these simple and more complicated municipal service reviews. If there are any conversations about maybe hiring a consultant to do MSR training so that we can keep those in-house and not take them out-house, once again, for staff to be able to grow and develop in their career, and also maybe it might eliminate some of that money that we're spending outsourcing the projects to other folks. And those were all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have Kim Stevens also.
Good evening again. My question is, as I overheard the budget, is there anything in line items that educates that you guys can allocate funds to training for staff and the executive? Are there any funds or any opportunities where you can make sure that everybody has the required training that they need in their current positions? And how often are those trainings executed where funding can also go towards that? Because to have people to represent the brand, we need to make sure that proper representation is being done and they're moving effectively in alignment with policies and procedures.
Thank you.
So at this time, with it being a public hearing, I will open and make a motion to open and close the public hearing for the budget, with, when we come back, maybe having a portion for the commission to vote on whether we want to start seeing what a 2-year budget does as this comes back. You'll make it a policy thing that when it's presented starting next year, we look at current year and then what out year would look like. Question?
Yes, I'm not sure if I understand the request. I mean, there's been a couple of comments here relating to training for staff, and it really depends on the training level. because as employees of Sacramento County, the county does require that employees take certain trainings as part of just being employed within the county. And there's no separate category for it. That's just it's something that you take during your work hours, and it's absorbed as part of your hourly rate. There are trainings that are associated with CalAFCO. Some of them are free as part of the California Association of LAFCOs. For example, they have CalAFCO U, which are topic-specific trainings, and those are free to the membership, and people are free to enroll, and I typically encourage them to take them. And then there's also the CalAFCO workshop, which is primarily driven for staff level trainings of various topics that are within the program. It's a 2 full days of training spread across 3 days, because it's half a day Wednesday, half a day Friday, but it's cumulative 2 days. Those typically happen in the spring. There are CalAFCO conference, which is additional training, but those are primarily geared towards commissioners. They tend to be more policy driven versus nuts and bolts. So the training piece, it's in there. If you look at business conferences and workshops, there's a line item there specifically for it. That's where that CalAFCO training goes to. And then everything else is kind of internal. There are some other nonprofits that offer training opportunities. ILG is the one that comes to mind, but there are others. CSDA, those are provided to staff as applicable. Some of them are applicable for us, others are not.
So I'm sorry I wasn't clear. My motion is to open and close the budget, but as starting maybe next budget year, you come with a 2-year budget. Because I know the trainings are already included and those opportunities, as you've been very clear with us as commissioners and sending on to us opportunities for that training. But I think I heard from most of us that, this budget as presented, fine, bring it forward, but let's put in a policy that starting next year, we look at the current year plus maybe 1 year out, so that we can look at maybe giving a heads up to special districts and others, especially with healthcare and IT going up. I think we have to start looking more beyond just 1 year.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't catch what you were recommending, and yeah, we could do it. We could do a 2-year budget. For the prior years, just so the commission knows, I've tried keeping the increases below 5%. This year just simply was not possible.
And unfortunately, the cost of what I'm seeing elsewhere, I think it's just smart. And I appreciate you being fiscally conservative. I just think it will help all of us as we see things.
Agreed.
So with that, my motion stands to open and close the public hearing and just add that policy change starting next year for showing 2-year budget.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion with a second. All those
May vote.
vote.
This item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item. Let's see.
Mr. Chair, the next item is consider supporting legislative effort to address underperforming water systems in disadvantaged areas.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this item, I'm going to tweak the recommendation that's on your staff report. Just a little bit of history, and forgive me if you already know all this. Essentially, the proposed legislation before you was born out of a study conducted by UC Berkeley by Dr. Kibben and Dr. McBride, where they were looking at water system consolidations. I won't bore you with all the details, but essentially they came up with a paper that said, if we want to address underperforming water systems, there needs to be better coordination between the state and LAFCOs, since each bears a connection between the two. So we, after the report was published, I can't remember who exactly initiated it, but essentially Dr. Kibben and a couple of nonprofits, advocacy nonprofits for disadvantaged communities, and several LAFCOs, including Sacramento LAFCO, got together to talk about, well, okay, now we have this paper. We know that there are these gaps in the statute. Is there something that we can do? part of it is obviously the sincere wanting to address water systems in underprivileged areas, but the other one was the understanding that basically in the past, about 10 years ago, the legislature was essentially chided LAFCOs for not being proactive. So we figured, you know what, we know that this issue's out there, what can we do? So over the years, this spans back to 2022, we've been meeting on and off to come up with some kind of legislation that would address these issues. And we came up with a proposal. The commission, I brought it to you for your consideration last year. The commission supported it in concept. And the hope was that now that we have, a language that's a little bit more nailed down, to actually support the bill. And this is where the tweaking from the recommendation comes from. We have had discussions with the California Association of LAFCO's legislative committee. And in that, it's very clear that there are some LAFCOs that are very reluctant to support what's here. Essentially, the proposed legislation has three components. The first component is that have the LAFCOs the ability to initiate either annexations or to initiate out-of-agency service agreements. The key difference between the two is that with annexations, you're actually doing a boundary change, similar to Del Paso Manor with Sac Suburban, or an out-of-agency service agreement, which is basically an authorization for an agency to extend services outside a service area, but it's not a formal annexation. No boundary changes are actually occurring. Right now, LAFCOs do not have the ability to initiate either of those, and so this legislation would give the authority to LAFCOs to do that within certain parameters. So it's not a willy-nilly when you feel like it. Certain things have to be triggered before LAFCOs can initiate such proposals. The second component is to elevate the visibility of MSRs. Right now, it comes before the commission, and the commission obviously has a public hearing about it. They adopt it, and the agency that was reviewed may or may not do anything about the MSR. It's a LAFCO-only document. What this legislation would propose is that agency has to take it up at a publicly noticed meeting on their home court, and they have to respond to it, similar to what happens with grand jury reports. The third component is basically requiring mutual water companies and mobile home parks, which are currently private water providers, to provide data on their service levels to LAFCOs. As a private entity, LAFCO has no jurisdiction over them, but at least it would be kind of a clearinghouse for information relating to how those entities are doing. At the Cal-LAFCO Ledge Committee, there was support for the MSR component. There was no universal support for the annexation or the out-of-agency service component, and then there was a mixed bag relating to the private water entities. The tweaked recommendation is, once again, to ask the commission, number one, to support the MSR piece, because I think that can move, and then still support in concept the idea of LAFCOs being able to initiate, at the very least, an out-of-agency service agreement. For me, in my capacity as EO, the main driver should be ensuring that a community has potable, safe drinking water. And if we cannot do outright annexations, then at least we need to give them a patch so that we provide them with the services that those communities deserve. And we struck gold with Sac Suburban, that they stepped up. They weren't happy about it, but at least some of the directors weren't happy about it. But they stepped up, and they knew the larger policy issue with Del Paso Manor. But that may not be the case in future annexations with troubled water systems. And so again, the focus should be not on the agency providing service, not on the agency that's in trouble, but the focus should be on the community. And if LAFCO is able to kind of at least address that piece, to give us that toolbox. At least if you support it in concept, that allows us to talk to sibling associations like Aqua and CSDA and come up with language that can work for them and can work for LAFCO. So that's my tweaked recommendation for you. Support the MSR, support in concept the idea of at least a not-of-agency service extension, and then that'll allow us to keep the dialogue going. And that concludes my report, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. You have comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support staff's updated recommendation. A tremendous amount of staff hours and contribution by volunteers at the LAFCOs and Cal-LAFCO level have contributed to this evolving system, or this evolving concern about how to help people in trouble with their water. It's a totally legitimate, important public community service that needs to be addressed, and I appreciate all the work that our staff and Cal-LAFCO staff, including the Ledge Committee, have moved this ball forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? I shall also make a motion to approve staff's amended recommendation.
And I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment?
We do have a public
Okay.
comment.
Desiree Fox. Oh.
Good evening, Chair Little and members of the commission. I have some questions about this particular item. So number one, this was a very in-depth verbal overview of a very important topic that LAFCO has the ability to influence. I would encourage that this type of topic compared with a visual or PowerPoint presentation. As we can see in our audience, we have some youth. We also have people who might be listening who are part of special districts who could benefit from learning and seeing a PowerPoint presentation or a visual associated with such a complicated topic. Number two, I think that this shows how unique LAFCOs are to address a need that the community, that a lot of different other government entities cannot cover. And I would hope that this is an example of, if staff is properly educated on how to handle water districts that special districts that are water districts, how it can help make sure that we're serving the special districts within Sacramento County LAFCO. The trainings that are provided normally to staff are not technical trainings. They are overview on topics. They don't give specifics about how to handle each district. I believe there are 63 special districts within LAFCO's purview: fire, park and rec, water, reclamation districts, and a plethora of other ones. So it's kind of challenging for staff to be able to say confidently that we can understand a water consolidation district, and we just had a big project come through, as you all know, with Sac Suburban, Del Paso Manor, and I do believe it will be a great asset to emphasize that staff, in addition to the executive officer, are equipped with the tools to handle them within-house so that we can best serve the special districts, cities, and the residents of Sacramento County. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Your motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Please read the next item.
Mr. Chair, the next item is discussion on the Cal-LAFCO 2026 Special Corporate Business Meeting, appoint voting delegates, and consider and support the recommended changes to the association bylaws.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is a new one for me. I've been a 23-year professional in LAFCO world. We have never had at least I don't remember having ever a special membership meeting mid-year to approve changes to Cal-LAFCO. But here we are, and actually these are welcome changes. These are things that is part of the reorganization of Cal-LAFCO. As you know, Cal-LAFCO ran into a little bit of trouble, a lot of trouble, in 2024. And over the course of the past year or so, Cal-LAFCO has been undergoing a sincere, though sometimes very tough conversation about how it can reform itself and how it can move forward from this point forward. And at the membership meeting at the Cal-AFCO conference over the fall, the membership approved several bylaw changes that reformed Cal-AFCO, but those were in anticipation of the changes that are being brought to you that are going to be considered at the February 23rd meeting. The item before you essentially has three pieces. Number one, just a background on what the proposed changes are. Number two, to appoint voting delegates for this membership meeting. And then number three, to provide direction to your voting delegates as to how to vote on these changes. So I'll go through these three changes, and feel free to interrupt me midway if you have questions about them. The first one is to eliminate Cal-AFCO director seat type categories. At the moment, Cal-AFCO is divided into 4 regions. Each region elects 4 commissioners to sit on the board of directors for Cal-AFCO. The 4 seats from each region basically reflects the categories that serve on LAFCO: county, city, special district, and public. So what the first reform says is we should eliminate the seat categories and allow any commissioner who is willing to serve on the board of directors, any person who's willing to serve on the board of directors to sit on the board of directors regardless of the seat type. So it's possible that a region may elect 2 special district commissioners. It's possible that they might elect a county, 2 county representatives. Whatever the case may be, it's like it's essentially allows the people who are willing to serve the ability to serve regardless of the category. Number 2, it would allow executive officers to be eligible to serve as voting members on the Cal-AFCO board of directors. So these two kind of go hand in hand in that by eliminating the seat types, you're also opening it up to practitioners to also sit on the board of directors. This is not unusual. CSDA, for example, on their board of directors, practitioners, general managers are eligible to serve on the board if so elected. And we also have several private entities that also have a board of directors that's similar, composed similarly. I'm thinking specifically of like a hospital, directors to a public health system. They typically also have doctors who are allowed to sit on the board of directors for such entities. So it's not that unusual. And then the third one is basically it's a cleanup of the Cal-AFCO bylaws where you have inconsistent capitalizations, you have inconsistent definitions. They're really non-substantive. This is more of just cleaning up our bylaws, simply because the bylaws get amended, but sometimes things as they are amended just don't conform with what's been there before. So it cleans up the bylaws so they read a little bit better. Those are the 3 changes. The Cal-AFCO, at least the regional officers, I'm one of them, and the Cal-AFCO executive director is also recommending approval of these changes. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Jones. I think the executive committee for Cal-AFCO recommended adoption as well.
Yes, we did. This has been yes.
Yes.
And I'll make comments.
So the board, unfortunately, has not had the opportunity, based on their meeting schedule, to actually weigh in on this. So we don't know how the board is recommending, but at least the practitioners, the executive committee, and your staff's recommendation is to direct your voting delegates to approve it, which leads me to the next category, which is that the recommendation is to designate Commissioner Jones to be the voting delegate at the February 23rd special meeting, with me as an alternate. It originally was going to be Commissioner Desmond. Unfortunately, he had a scheduling conflict, so he wouldn't be able to attend the meeting. So that's why the recommendation is me. And then the third component is to take questions, have a discussion, and then direct your voting delegates on whether to approve or oppose these proposed changes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Do you have any thoughts? Please.
Commissioner Jones?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I am fully prepared to support staff recommendation on this and carry it forward to the Cal LAFCO, the Association for State LAFCOs. This has been a tremendous lift, well over a year in the making, in terms of trying to sort out priorities and objectives and what will make this state agency, this state association, work as smoothly as possible. And I would like to emphasize the hours and hours and hours, not only yours truly, but up and down the state, of practitioners and commissioners who have committed, in your words, in a sincere effort to move this forward, make it accommodating to the state and to the goals of LAFCOs. So I would certainly appreciate our commission's support for this recommendation.
I will second.
We have public comment
Yes.
on this. Desiree Fox?
Good evening, Chair Little and members of the LAFCO Commission. I'm here to raise concerns about Sacramento LAFCO's participation with Cal LAFCO and the amount of time Sac LAFCO participates in Cal LAFCO affairs. I was told when I returned back from my leave that a part of the reason why there might have been some challenges in communication was because our current executive officer was carrying a couple different roles, one of those being sitting as interim executive director and also having to carry out the responsibility of being executive officer for Sacramento LAFCO. I want to put on record that I, as staff, didn't feel prioritized in that season, and that the participation with California LAFCO, which has experienced a grand exodus from a lot of LAFCOs in the Southern California and have gotten some, there's been documented complaints about how Cal LAFCO is being governed. So that is a separate issue, separate topic. If you all are not familiar with how Cal LAFCO is ran, what it is, what it does, how it supports Sacramento and its other LAFCOs, go to its website. Also, recently, I submitted a comment on the analyst listserv and in occupying a lane that I thought was appropriate, inquiring about other experiences that different analysts had experienced within county-dependent LAFCOs. I was further in violation of a policy, and without there being a progressive system to address the violation of the policy of the question I asked, I was immediately removed from a LAFCO resource by the executive officer, who was also great friends with the executive director of Cal LAFCO, and I did not feel like I was provided the proper opportunity to be told why that was out of bounds, how I could have adjusted my approach so I could still maintain a working relationship with my colleagues throughout the state of California and be a good LAFCO analyst. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please, please vote.
It's so hard when it's electronic.
Yeah, I know, I'm just,
Your motion passes unanimously.
all right, thank you. Our next item, please.
Next item is 15, Executive Officer Commission Council, Astro Sheet and Correspondence. Christy Graywa.
Mr. Chair and members, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome the new LAFCO counsel, Josh Nelson. He's actually, I worked with you briefly in El Dorado, I think it was one hearing, but Josh has been a tremendous resource. He's also counsel for a couple of LAFCOs, San Benito and Santa Cruz. Is there any more?
San Benito and Santa Cruz.
So, yeah, okay. So he's certainly qualified on the Cal LAFCO front. He's partner at Best and Krieger. So now we also have the resources of BB&K as part of your packet. It was a contract with BB&K for LAFCO counsel services, and in addition, we also now have backup counsel with Colantuno, Highsmith, and Watley. So both firms have very deep benches, and they are very familiar with LAFCO matters. we enjoyed certainly the service of Sloan Sakai, and we thank them for all the years of service to Sacramento LAFCO. Your policy analyst, Graybo, will go over the ASTRO sheet on the correspondence. A very, very late letter basically was sent to Governor Gavin Newsom to sign the local government omnibus bill, which included a couple of LAFCO-related items. They were non-substantive technical changes that make CKH work a little bit better. We are thankful to the Senate Local Government Committee, because typically they do not include LAFCO work in their omnibus bill, but in this case they made an exception for us, and so I'm very thankful for that. And with that, I will turn it over to your policy analyst to go over the ASTRO sheet.
Great. Good evening, Commissioners. So that I'm not going back over the MSR items that we already covered earlier, something to prepare for in March, we have tentatively scheduled the Airport South Industrial Annexation project that will be coming forward. In addition, we will be bringing the Florin County Water MSR item forward to open for public comment, and those two items are tentatively scheduled. And so other than that, that's what we have going on in addition to the MSRs mentioned earlier.
And I would just like the public to stay, can you keep me in the know? Because we'd have to have the alternative for this city come, as I am FPPC conflicted out of participating in that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We have any public comments? We do.
Yes, we do.
Are we done with the report? Okay, thank you. Desiree Fox, please.
Good evening, Chair Little and members of the LAFCO Commission. I requested multiple times to get in contact with our new Commission Counsel as I was navigating some private personnel matters. I was told that I had no access to counsel, although our previous counsel was Sloan Sakai. I was able to communicate with directly multiple times, so I would like to know if there's a policy in place that does or does not allow for staff to communicate with counsel if they're having personnel challenges. In regards to the ASTRO sheet, the ASTRO sheet stands for Application Status Time Report and Overview. I created it at the request of the commission so that you all can stay updated on how projects are moving and what staff is spending their time on. It tells you how much time we're spending on it, and the status of it. Is it active? Is it active? Is it pending? Is it on hold? For time, it says, is it a lot of staff time, marginal time, or, and I forget the other category, forgive me. But within that ASTRO sheet, there was mention of a project called Airport South Industrial. I was the project manager for that. I made mention to my executive officer that I was uncomfortable performing certain duties with said project, and because it was high profile, I requested that my name be removed from the project, and that because of my discomfort with it, I also said I did not want to act in the capacity of a licensed land surveyor. There's a lot of controversy associated with Airport South Industrial, and I did not want to be responsible for making my commission liable at my hands and not performing my job duties and staying within my scope of work. And then in regards to the ASTRO sheet generally, I will reiterate that I encourage you all to make sure that the projects are moving forward on the ASTRO sheet, and that there are things that staff is being proactive in how they are approaching municipal service reviews and other projects that are within the LAFCO office. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, quick question.
Yes.
To the general counsel, would you mind stating what is the general with staff requests, as knowing that employees are under the county if they have questions, what that process is?
Thanks, Commissioner Kaplan. First, I'm Josh Nelson. It's nice to meet everyone. I appreciate the words, Jose. I'm just really excited for the opportunity to work with this commission, both personally on behalf of the firm. To answer the question, Commissioner, all employees do work for the county, and so it's appropriate for them to address any personnel-related issues to their contact at the Department of Personnel Services and not directly related to LAFCO Council. Thank you.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is Commission Chair and Commissioners' comments.
Do you have any additional comments, anyone?
I have
Okay,
short ones.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Go, Joan.
Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome our new chair, Chris Little. I'm sure you're going to do an excellent job, and you have the full support of all of us here for all of us to be successful. I appreciate that. And I'd like to welcome Josh Nelson. Welcome aboard. Nice to have you. We appreciate you signing on, and we'll move forward. Thank you so much.
And Chair Little, I just wanted to say congratulations. Welcome to the chairmanship and good luck.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your service as well, and continued service on this commission.
Mr. Chair, I do have one other request, comment. We missed this the last time we met, but I see that our last item, I would like to take the last item before closed session so that we can, in the fullest expression of a meeting, be able to adjourn the meeting in memory of Don Lockhart, our previous executive officer. And I would like to do that before the closed session, now that since we have a full meeting going on, I think that's appropriate to have a recognition at this time. So if I may, I would like to have all of us stand for a moment of silence in memory of our previous executive officer, Don Lockhart. We've been friends since 1995 when he was a planner with the city of Sacramento, and I was an acting fire marshal at the same time. So it was many, many years of professional, friendly collaboration. And in his memory, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jones, for that. That was nice. All right, so do we? Okay, so the next item is for closed session. And so we will now go into closed session. We'll be
That would be in hearing room 1.
hearing room 1. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.